with me. The person who taught me that showering is bad. There's only one person who really knows that lesson as well as he knows it, and that is the one and only, the very funny Stephen Kruiser. Welcome to the Dr. Gina Show.
I've seen you in high def.
Yeah, it's. I'm sorry about that. I can't prevent it all the time, but I can definitely prevent it on my own show. I like low def cameras, very low def cameras, and less lights are fine with me too. I just want a candle and a bubble bath.
You know what I find myself saying when I watch high def commercials a lot, where they have pretty girls on them and everything?
Wow, she has a lot of hair on her face?
I find myself saying, oh, that's unfortunate a lot. You just see too much. I like when I'm watching sports in high def, yay, I love that. But then when you start to see people up close, you're right, there's just stuff you don't need to see ever.
Really. And sports in high def, and maybe like nature programs, not those kinds of nature programs, I know right where your mind went, but I'm talking about the ones where you're like looking at pretty scenery. Like I know, Joe Dane will hate me for this, but that CBS on Sunday mornings, where they do that little, it's been on forever, what's his name, is it Charles Corral, or I don't know. Anyway, I love that show. And actually my husband will wake me with that and coffee because he'll put on my little show that I love where they show like something that you just never bothered to watch, like a flower blooming or just something stupid like that. That is good for high def, but leave it off of the faces, right?
Yes. There's just nobody. There's people. Ugh.
No, yeah, we don't need to know that. Okay, so you have a new ebook. Advising people not to let their little lefties shower. I think this is such a brilliant concept. Only you, Kruiser, would write a book about why people shouldn't shower. Do tell.
It's called Don't Let the Hippies Shower, because the hippies, I took a few things that have been in my act for years that I've been exploring on stage, and one of them is
hippies,
about the hippies from the 60s cleaning themselves up and taking over American public education.
Yes.
And that's basically what this is exploring here. The most dangerous thing you can do with a hippie is clean it up and put it into polite American society, because within 20 minutes they have teaching credentials. I don't know how they do it. It's
and
magical,
tenure.
But yeah, and tenure. Then tenure is the next thing, and then it's the zombie apocalypse is upon us. It's just a different kind of zombie, and they're going after the brains of our children. So I wrote an ebook about it, and it just got published. Well, Amazon made it available last night. It was supposed to be ready today, but I'm doing the big Friday the 13th rollout today.
Very exciting. That is really cool, and I know it'll be hilarious and certainly not your typical conservative style of book because, you're not the typical style of conservative, so that's awesome.
It's like for the most part, there might be a couple of dirty words in it, I don't even remember, but for the most part, it's pretty clean and tame, but it is a little, it's me writing it, and it's available on Amazon today. You just search me, and if you don't have a Kindle, people always freak out about that. If you've got an iPhone, an Android phone, a laptop,
iPad,
a Mac, PC, and iPad, anything, you can download a Kindle Reader app for free and read any Kindle content you want on it.
Yeah, that's a very cool app.
What about BlackBerry?
No, BlackBerry.
BlackBerry. When I had a BlackBerry a couple years ago, they did have a Kindle app.
Woohoo! Just tell him. Yeah, you noticed that he said a couple years ago, though, producer Jason.
Well, I wanted to stay with BlackBerry because I was in love with the keyboard, like most BlackBerry people are.
Yes.
But they never got serious about having a browser on BlackBerry, so I had to leave.
Yes, exactly. Well, short bus over here, as Joe Dan likes to refer. Okay, so so the new book is definitely, people can Google your name. The book is called Don't Let the Hippies Shower, and they can find it.
The link is also available in my Twitter bio now.
Link available at Stephen Kruiser.
The link straight to the book.
It's the PH Stephen Kruiser, STEPHE, and Kruiser is KRUISER. Could you really make it any more confusing, Stephen Kruiser, to spell your name? And anyway, or they can go to stephenkruiser.com, I'm sure, as well. Now,
PH is the biblical way there, Gina, okay?
I was waiting for the name you were going to call me right there.
Stephen with a PH, that's the biblical way of spelling Stephen. So
what's the biblical way of Kruiser? Is that
Kruiser's just something I made up?
Well, I can't have you on the show without getting to somebody that I think does shower actually really regularly, but is also unorthodox in her approach to what she's doing, and that is the Miss America contestant. We talked about her a little earlier today. She's got tattoos. She shoots guns. This is not your father's Miss America contestant, and I just wanted to get your comment on that. I figured you'd probably want to give it.
It's been a long-held thing. It's been something we've known on this side of the aisle for a long time that I don't think they know on the other side of the aisle, but you can be like a regular American person and still be glamorous and hot as hell.
Yeah.
Okay? You can be a gun-toting, just real American, and that's what's attractive. It's not this manufactured stuff. I'd go high def on her, and that has multiple meanings. I would definitely do a zoom in on high def on her. But that's, when you meet people like, you and I live in Southern California now, and we run into people who don't always hang around with conservatives. But when you go into go into hardcore places like in the entertainment industry, after they hang out with me for a while, they're surprised to find out you're like a human being. You're just an actual human being. And I think that's what people are stunned to find out right now. They go, "Oh, here you got this Miss America contestant, and she's just a normal person, but she's hot."
Yeah, exactly.
And people expect all glamorous people to be fake, and people are always surprised when someone that does something that we like totes guns or does something a little weird. They're always surprised to find they're real people, they're attractive people, because people need to get out more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that should keep us all busy. That and the Alabama game. Are you going to root for Alabama?
I guess. I don't really. I'm a Pac-12 guy, so I don't pay much attention to what's going on down there.
All right. Well, this week, a lot happening in the news, and we should get to some of that because I know you've always got some insight. Do you think that Obama has taken us from a superpower? And if you do you think it is fixable, redeemable?
Well, militarily, we're still the undisputed king. It's that we don't use our military very well, where the problem comes in, where we will start a war but then not really fight it. I've been all over this world doing shows for the troops, and I've seen stuff that we've got on islands and places that you don't know, and I look around and I go, how do we ever lose one of these things?
Yeah.
And it's because we don't fight the wars. Well, he's definitely hurting our credibility. I think the only thing that's keeping it from going completely off the cliff is the fact that so many people on both the right and the left are going, "Whoa, Chief, relax a little here."
Exactly.
And are against him. I mean, I did a 30-minute interview on a progressive radio show the other day, and we spent the entire time agreeing with each other about the way he's handling this.
Mm. Yeah, well, and that is what I think is fascinating. I mean, you and I have traveled around the country, and we've met a lot of these occupiers and gone out in the middle of their little crowds and whatever, and I honestly think if you had an occupier and a Tea Party on this issue, we'd all be standing right there together mostly.
Well, you had Medea Benjamin from Code Pink the other day saying that she would be open to holding some protests with some Tea Party groups.
Wow, that is fascinating. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
That's how far afield the president has wandered with this one. He might have Nancy Pelosi in his corner. He might have John McCain. He might have a few people on the Hill in his corner, but by and large, the real Americans at the moment on both sides of the aisle are not on board with this.
Yeah, the fact that those people are who's in a land, that I hope that illustrates for people the way politics really works, because I remember so well, the Democrat in the Missouri House when my husband served there in the Senate. I remember the leadership in the Democrats and the Republicans. They would do exactly what they wanted to do every time, and then they'd blame, extraordinary circumstances, or they'd let someone take a pass on a vote while that person was not really working to pass the bill. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, literally the person would get to vote the way they needed to for their district or act the way they needed to, while that person did absolutely nothing. And everyone behind the scenes knew that person wasn't even trying to pass the bill. He just wanted to look like he was trying to pass the bill, and leadership would give him a pass because he was a friend of leadership. That's the way that works. That's the way politics has always worked. This is what those of us who have been involved in the Tea Party have been trying to point out forever. It is not about Republican and Democrat. It's about elitism versus we the people.
It's about the political class, yes.
Yes.
It's not, I mean, if you want to go class warfare, you don't break it down economically, you break it down by political power. And you talk about the political class and the way they exercise their will. And, you know, there are a lot of people on the left that will blame that on money, but that's not really all it is. It's about power and longevity, which is one of the reasons you can't leave someone in Washington for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a big to-do yesterday when Katrina Pearson's decided to challenge Pete Sessions and everybody, and all the mainstream Republican consultant class were getting mad at the grassroots and back and forth. And I told one of my more mainstream consultant friends, I said, I don't care how solid anyone is in D.C. I'm okay for challenging anyone who's been there more than 10 years in a primary. Anyone.
And it gets to where at least it will hold them a little accountable. I know it's very, very difficult to beat an incumbent, and conservatives never know what to do in those situations, but at least it does tell that person they're not going to get a free ride over and over again as they have for so long. And I really do think if there was ever a moment in recent history in America that we could make some of these changes, it would be now.
Yeah, I hope. And one of the things you mentioned earlier about people, doing a sham vote just for political cover, that's done just so they can extend their careers there. And when you don't give them the longevity option, then they stop doing things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Stephen Kruiser, folks want to find your book, StephenKruiser.com, or on Twitter. He is the Twitter maestro, Stephen Kruiser is his handle on Twitter. The book, Don't Let the Hippies Shower. It's so nice of you. I'm so nice of this professor, this Arabic professor here in UCSD, to illustrate your book for you today by leaving Israel literally off the map that he handed out to his students in his language class. Have you thanked him?
Yeah, no, not yet. I'll drive down. I'll drive down and make sure I do.
Well, good. Well, join me for fish tacos when you come down, because we'd love to have you.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Stephen Kruiser, Don't Let the Hippies Shower. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you. Take care.
All right, all the best. Coming up, I'm going to talk to you about what